Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to New Life Live. It is Steve Arterburn here with Dr. Sherry Keffer. Hi, Sherry. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right, and I think I'm muted there now. And also, our special guest today, Dr. Daniel Amen, is going to be with us today, and he's got a brand new book, and it is so appropriate that we be talking about this because it's part of the secret to mastering your mind, and it's conquering worry and anxiety. The title is Conquer Worry and Anxiety. I don't know of any time in my life that I've seen more people who are worried, and they need to conquer it. And so here's a great book. We're going to be talking about that. If you want to join us with him, 1-800-229-3000. And this is all about feeling out of control, or how do you stay positive or get positive when nothing feels positive. Let's talk to the author, Dr. Daniel Amen. Dr. Amen, welcome again to New Life Live.
Hey, Steve. What a joy to be with you and Sherry.
Well, I'm really excited about this new book. I can't think of any time that it would come out at a better time. But let's talk about this. What do you think? Why is it that anxiety is so overwhelming right now for so many people? Other than the obvious, we've got virus and violence and all sorts of things. But what's going on out there?
So before the pandemic, we actually had an anxiety epidemic. Almost a third of people in the United States struggle with issues of anxiety. And that number's probably doubled given the pandemic. Yeah. And part of it is we're not taking care of our brains like we should. I mean, it's ultimately your brain that controls everything you do, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people. So think of that as the hardware of anxiety. But there's also software programming. The mental discipline in this country is so bad. It's so poor. We need to discipline our minds with what we eat and how we think and how we act. Mm-hmm. There's a way, but you can't do it once. You have to develop, when the pandemic started, I wrote this little phrase: mental hygiene is just as important as washing your hands. That we need to disinfect our thoughts, our words, and our actions so that we can thrive even during tough times.
Well, it makes sense. And I think a lot of us think about discipline as choices, behavior, and things. But mentally, we have to have a mental discipline, or a small little concern becomes an overwhelming or all-consuming worry and source of anxiety. So from the book, what is one tip that you give that is like let's say a quick calming technique?
So whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, out of control, write down what you're thinking. And then just ask yourself, is it true? Can I absolutely know if this is true? Where you bring your attention determines how you feel. And if you let your mind play that dark record in your head, you're going to feel anxious and sad.
You bring up a good point. I was just watching the news this weekend, and in San Diego, which is just an hour away from me, there was a woman who pepper sprayed a guy, because they were having lunch outside, and she got scared. So that's when worry takes you to the dark side, which you talk about so often, Dr. Amen.
We'll be back, 1-800-229-3000.
I'm about 100 pounds overweight. I'm 30 years old, and I'm just really discouraged. I'm scared. I don't want to fail again.
Does this sound like your story? If you want to live free of obsessions and compulsions in your eating habits, New Life's Lose It for Life online workshop can help. The workshop features 6 main sessions presented by Steve Arterburn on topics like the importance of connection and relapse prevention, plus small group sessions led by a credentialed New Life Network counselor. This one-day online video conference workshop takes place Saturday, August 1st. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com. If you're finally ready to stop going from diet to diet and begin a comprehensive plan that addresses the psychological, emotional, and spiritual aspects of a healthy lifestyle, call 1-800-639-5433 or go to newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here, and our special guest, Dr. Daniel Amen, with Dr. Sherry Keffer today. The new book, Conquer Worry and Anxiety, a gift of any amount. I will send that book to you, $1. That's all you have. You promised that, and we'll send you the book. But it's really a valuable resource. Dr. Amen, so often people are anxious, they're worried, they get hyper vigilant, and then they sink down into a deep depression. What's the cause of that?
Well, there's so many causes. When I evaluate someone who's depressed, I always think about 4 big circles. There's a biology to that, which means your thyroid could be low, or what I'm seeing is dramatically low levels of testosterone in both men and women. So there's a biology to the depression. There's a psychology, this undisciplined thinking that we've been talking about. There's a social circle to depression. If you're around a lot of unhappy people, you're more likely to be unhappy, which is why you need to turn off the news, because it just feeds the unhappiness. And there's a spiritual aspect to depression, living without a clear sense of meaning, purpose, and connection to a higher power. So whenever I think of someone who's depressed, I'm always thinking about these 4 big circles and antidepressants, which can help a lot of people. They're just never the first thing I think about. I think about head-to-head against antidepressants, exercise, walking like you're late for 45 minutes 4 times a week, equally effective to Zoloft. Omega-3 fatty acids in one study from New Zealand, more effective than Prozac. Learning how to not believe every stupid thing you think. A treatment called cognitive behavior therapy has been shown to be equally effective in many studies. And so I'm like, why are you depressed? I think of depression like chest pain. Nobody gets a diagnosis of chest pain, way too many causes. So at Amen Clinics, we'll actually look at your brain, because if you don't look, how do you know?
Yeah.
And then natural ways to heal the brain. But if they don't work, then we'll absolutely use medication when appropriate.
So here's a psychiatrist that's saying there are things other than medication. A lot of times people think psychiatry is only about medication, but you're saying supplement, exercise, diet. Look at all of this stuff. It would be foolish not to be looking at that, and then all you do is take a pill. That's what I like about what you're saying here. But let's go to Wichita, Kansas, and talk to Scott from KJLT. Scott, you're on with Dr. Sherry Keffer, Dr. Daniel Amen. How are you?
I'm doing great today.
Good.
And I'm really glad I was able to call in and share what I wanted to today with Dr. Amen on. I just wanted to encourage people out there. I struggled with depression for a lot of years. Back in the mid-'90s, my life just came unraveled. I even had diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. But yet today, nobody can believe that I had that diagnosis. And I want to encourage people out there with severe depression considering suicide, don't do it. It's not the answer. Because now I have a relationship with my daughters and my son. And they just tell me all the time how much they love me, that I'm there for them, I'm there to help them through life. There's so many rewards that are yet to come that you won't experience if you do commit suicide.
So,
And like
so
Dr.
you,
Lehman talked about.
so
Sorry.
well, what is the key to the turnaround for you? Let's hear about that.
Well, it's a lot with what I'm hearing about Dr. Amen's book. Is I did a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectic behavioral therapy, and just learning to challenge those thoughts, those negative thoughts. And one thing that I noticed for me is my black and white thinking, and how, let's just say on an extreme, you have a death in the family, but then you have a grandchild that's born. Which one do you focus on? The real happy thing or the real sad thing? Or do you find the middle? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where you can't be just black and white. You got to find some color in life.
Okay.
And that's just kind of what I share is just don't give up. Just don't give up.
Well, that's a great encouragement.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you for
just
sharing
love
that.
And most
sorry?
people don't know suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary feeling. And, I lay it out for all my patients. If you kill yourself, you've just gifted a 500% increased risk of your children killing themselves. And, I often say it's not just about us. It's about generations of us. And it's biblical about the sins of the fathers can affect 3 or 4 generations of people. And it generally means something's not going right in one of those 4 circles, or often in all of the 4 circles. There's biology issues, there's psychology issues. You talked about black or white thinking. There's social issues and spiritual issues. It's never just one. Too often psychiatrists give drugs. A pastor might say pray more, when we really have to always be working in all 4 of those circles all the time.
Scott,
So good.
That for me is what
I was going to say,
So is in the Christian community. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Scott, what you've reminded us of is that if you would have taken your life, you would have closed your book. There would have been no chapters. But basically what you did is learn how to just turn that one page. Like Dr. Amen said, that feeling that you had that was temporary. You were able to move past that. And now you have multiple chapters. Instead of leaving your kids, I've shared this on the show before. If there's one trauma event, and I don't mean to sound disparaging, but if there's one trauma event that I cannot help someone completely heal from, it's suicide. It leaves so many unraveled pieces and unanswered. So I love the fact that you turned the page and that you're here as a testimony telling other people, don't go there. It's not worth it. There is more.
Well, this issue
might
of
be years long, but it's worth the battle.
Yeah. And the issue about generational impact, if you do this, it impacts few generations. But if you don't do it, when you do the courageous thing, your story, the Bible says, for hundreds of generations, the good stuff gets passed down. And that's the good news. And you have a story that produces essentially a history for the rest of your family tree's living life that says, persevere, don't give up, struggle through, there's victory on the other side. And I'm really happy that you called and told us about that. And I'll send you a copy of Dr. Amen's book, and I hope that will be a blessing to you. But I just asked Scott, anything else you wanted to say here before we go?
Again, just don't give up.
There you go. Yeah, if you're going to kill yourself, don't do it today. Just wait till tomorrow. And then when you wake up in the morning tomorrow, just tell yourself, I'm not going to do it today. I can always do it tomorrow. Because when you wake up tomorrow, you might be shocked at how good life actually can be. It can turn so quickly. And so often we leave or quit or miss out on the blessing right before it's about to happen. If you need some help, we want to help you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's the number to call if you are struggling. Let's go talk to Miss Gee from WAVA, calling from Chesapeake there. And hi, you're on with Dr. Amen and Dr. Keffer. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for asking. I think your show is about a blessing. I was just listening, and I try to wake up positive every day and think good things, and good things, think good things, and good things will follow. But somewhere along the way, sometimes bad thoughts slip in because you hear bad news. And just like the lady said, someone was having lunch, and she seen somebody come by and have lunch, and she had an anxiety attack. And when you hear stuff like that, when you can't have, you don't have control over, but it affects me. So why would you don't know all the answers, but why would somebody have an anxiety attack because somebody came in and had dinner, beside them, and then you shoot them or you call them a name or something like that. So when you can't fix those things, or you can't fix other people, but stuff like that, it gets to you. It gets to you because you hear so much. You don't like me because I don't like you because why you have to judge? Why you have to, why you have to act out? Why you have to take your anxiety and your feelings out on other people?
Okay, well, I hear what your concern is, and it sounds like it really got to you today. Sherry, Dr. Amy, any comment here about her kind of being triggered by this woman pepper spraying somebody, kind of sounds like randomly even here?
Well, I'm just aware, Miss Gee, if I had a guess to make, if I could guess, I think that you are among our African American friends. And when I think about how much certain cultures have had to experience, I have a good buddy of mine who's an African American, and he has been talking with me about what it's like to live and to be questioned a lot, what it's like to come from a long history of hurt. I've got a girlfriend of mine who I adore. Her name is Andrea. She's got 2 boys. And every day, Andrea lives with this real fear about how her boys, as African American men, young men, are growing up in a culture where they're questioned or looked at with suspect. So generational hurt, generational suspect, generational anxiety, generational worry about culture, something like that can happen. We can see something, and it's like a Jenga cube. It's like all of a sudden there's these underlying worries, like tiny veins that go deep into our heart, and we have to address that negative belief or that lie, which is I'm not in control, or I'm helpless. I can't use my voice. I'm powerless. Those are those negative ants that you talk about, Dr. Amen, that we really can't allow to take over. We have a ant infestation in our mind.
Yeah, no question. And one of the ants that is going out big time these days are labeling ants, where you label someone else with a negative term. I mean, politically, if you're a Democrat, Republicans might just get anxious and angry, and the same if you're a Republican. So we have that, and we have racial labels, and if you're tall or if you're short, whenever we label someone, we lump them with all the people we've ever known. You call someone a jerk, so you lump them with all of the jerks you've ever known. And you can't ever deal with that individual person. So in conquering anxiety and worry, I talk about how to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that just steal your happiness. And where you bring your attention, though, will always determine how you feel. And I love the previous caller who said, there's a death and a birth. Where you bring your attention is going to determine if you feel sad or you feel joy.
All right, very good. Okay, let me send you a copy of this book, and I hope that'll be a great blessing to you. Anyone else? 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Donation of any amount, I'll send it to you. Also, that's where you can sign up. We're doing a wonderful, wonderful in-service, a webinar, a workshop just this weekend, and we'd love to have you come and join us, and we'll be dealing with this issue this weekend. You can still get in. It's Lose It for Life. It's all about weight and what anxiety does to our weight.
Divorce shattered my family. I was very confused about my feelings, which are guilt, shame, and anger.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. I'm just wondering if you're feeling stuck and you're hiding behind a mask, or maybe you're ignoring some pain and you're just not wanting anybody to see the real you. Well, Chris Williams and I are going to be doing the Finding Freedom Workshop. It's a great place to discover how to live a life of freedom, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll learn how to overcome your painful past and recognize the habits and behaviors that can lead you to the life God intended. It's time to get free from the rut you're in and experience transformation in your life.
Join Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams for the New Life Finding Freedom online workshop Saturday, August 8th. To register or to learn more about finding freedom, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and you can join us 1-800-229-3000. We have another hour and a half with your phone calls. Dr. Amen, Dr. Sherry Keffer here. And again, Lose It for Life. So many of us eat out of anxiety, and we're going to be dealing with that and so many other issues, the obsessions of the mind and the compulsions of the body. All of that's part of what we're going to deal with this weekend on Saturday. You can sign up at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You can join us right now, 1-800-229-3000. I'm going to go to Sunshine. We can all use a little more sunshine. Sunshine, how are you today?
Well, I'm good. I just need somebody I can talk to.
Well, here we are. Good luck.
That might can give me some answers.
Okay, we'll do our best. What's going on?
Well, I was in a relationship for 10 years, and I was married for 1 year and 3 months. And everything went well. And then my spouse died. And, I had a good relationship with the family and everything, I thought. And then after he died, it's kind of like before he died, I was threatened, and I had to leave everything to go to a safe place, which was a crisis center. And once I got in there and I told them my story of where I had been stalked by one of my stepchildren.
Oh, my goodness.
A male. Yeah, I had been stalked by I had to go there because he got aggressive before my husband died on hospice 3 months prior because he was the executive of the estate. And so he got aggressive. It's like, well, if I get rid of Sunshine, I need her to go so we can do what we need to do. And it wasn't even it didn't even call for that because me and my husband had already talked because I wasn't in his will that I pack my clothes and go back home, which was 250 miles away. So I saw one of my stepchildren stalking me, and then as I was going to the crisis center, but I continued to go, and then finally they were going to send me away, kind of like a protection deal. And I said, I'm not going there. I'm going back home, which I live close to Dallas. And so I came back home, and then after I got home, this is 250 miles away, I saw my stepchild again. And, I mean, stalking me. And so it just really gotten kind of, I read up on gang
sure.
stalking.
So what's the question for us? Because we see that this is a horrible situation.
I've been trying to resolve this conflict for 2 years. And these people.
How could we help you? How could we help you?
I haven't had any kind of communication with them, and so my life is looking over my shoulder.
Yeah. So what's the question for us then? What's the question that we could help you with?
How can I resolve this conflict with my stepchildren, and how can I stop worrying about whether somebody is following me or whether they're following me or not? Is this a paranoid situation or is this reality? Because I do have a lot of anxiety behind it. I just checked my blood pressure. It's 143 over 104.
Okay, so let's see what Dr. Amen has to say about this. I think you've asked the question, is this real, or do we think that this might be some kind of paranoia or something like that? Dr. Amen, what are your thoughts here?
Well, Sunshine, I'm really sorry for the anxiety. It sounds really like a terrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
How was your relationship with your stepchildren before your husband died?
Well, they always they didn't come around a lot, but when they did, they were just they wasn't friendly, but they didn't get aggressive or nothing. They always said, they didn't say they loved me, but we sit and talk, and we talked about our situations. I even went to family reunions, and it was, I guess they call it a blended family, where he was Caucasian and I'm African American, and he was a little older than me. But it was a casual. It wasn't nothing where you could laugh all day. They just come kind of like they was checking up on everything, and that's how they did. But it's went to the next level after a family meeting after my husband died, and it didn't go good. And ever since that day, I just feel like I'm being taunted by them, by somebody. And I know it's real. Have people in the car with me that agrees with me, and I went to the authorities, and it's kind of like they called them and talked to them, and they said no. But before they called them, they said, Gloria, I'm sorry, Sunshine, they're going to lie. And just as sure as he called them, that's what they did. They said that they wasn't taunting me, they wasn't having nobody following me, they wasn't calling, hanging up the phone. It's, the phone rings by 10 times a day. Nobody answers when you answer the phone, and it's been going on for 2 years.
I just want to say this, that sometimes you cannot resolve a conflict, and you simply have to protect yourself through by getting a good attorney, legal system. But other times, you find one person that might be able to talk some sense into somebody else. And did you not have an alliance with any of the stepkids at all?
What do you mean?
Well, did any of the kids have some kind of connection?
The one that I had an alliance with is the one that they disinherited because she had a drug problem. It's like, we're not going to claim her. She got all this stuff going on. She married a guy. He abused the children. And so they didn't have anything to do with her. And she was my friend.
So, Sunshine,
she disappeared.
Sunshine,
disappeared in the thin air.
I have one question. If you're not in the will, what do they want from you?
What do they want?
Because you're not even
like I asked.
You're not even in the will.
My question, like I asked you, is why am I worried about it? If I trust God, I trust Him, I love Him.
Right.
And why am I worried about it anyway?
Right, but if you're not in the will, the only thing every family member needs to know is you got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
And so that's all they need to know, which is the truth, which will be your protection.
We'll take a break. Come right back after this.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said, you either get help or I have to leave this household.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
I believed that I could do it on my own. I just believed if I tried hard enough and pulled myself up hard enough by my bootstraps, I could do it. It was a battle that I'd had all my life. I had to get help.
The Every Man's Battle workshop can be a trip to the sexual addiction emergency room. During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, August 15th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
The single most helpful thing was to realize that I wasn't the weirdest guy on the planet.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEWLIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and we've been talking with Sunshine, and I want to ask Dr. Amen, when you reach a point and you just feel overwhelmed, and you don't, so much so that you don't know if it's real or not, the way she's saying, is this real or is this paranoia? What is the best thing that an overwhelmed person can do to gain back control of the life that is just totally out of control? What do you do?
Well, you really try to increase the communication. So you talk to people you trust, whether it's your pastor, is there someone in the family, and if you're not getting any answers, a mental health professional can be really helpful to know, is this paranoia or is this a really difficult situation? When people die and then there's money involved, there's a lot of funny business that goes on because most people act out of fear. And so I think it's critical to get the most accurate information possible.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And Dr. Amen, if I was her, I would be addressing what do you have that they want. And if she's got nothing, then I would probably help to empower her to consider a restraining order. Right? Because so in situations where somebody continues to show up and stalk you, sometimes you just have to stop them from doing that. You don't really have an ongoing relationship. You have to grieve that. This is probably not going to be a close family, which is sad, but you also have to consider your safety.
Yeah, and by the way, I do Facebook Live every day, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Today I'm talking about this relationship in blended families with stepchildren. And, if you don't get it started off on the right foot, there's going to be a lot of left foot kind of stuff going on. And so I'm going to talk to you about being a bonus parent versus a step parent. And you can join me 5 o'clock on Facebook Live. If you need info on that, you can go to newlife.com. Let's go to Knoxville, Tennessee, or how about Hazelden, Pennsylvania? I love Hazelden, one of the great places for alcohol and drug treatment. And let's talk with David. Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, My name is David. I just tuned in to the radio. Well, actually, I'm on my tablet, and I noticed that there was a topic, a very interesting topic. But I heard a little earlier, based on depression. I'm not sure if you guys are still talking about that.
Well, you can talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, when I was way younger, right now I'm 43 years old, but when I was younger, I used to go to church a lot over there at New York, at somewhere in 180th, the Bronx. And there was a great pastor there, and he was always teaching us about the mind. Satan and demons were the biggest topic there. Because although we serve the Lord, we have to know who's our enemy. According to the scriptures, he always taught us, you have an enemy who hates you so much because you're created in God's image.
Yeah.
And this enemy has a big gang called demons. They always attack the human mind. They always tell you things that are very negative in order to bring you down. And if you start believing in such thinking, then you're out of control. You start feeling the depression that they're giving. Now, when a person feels depressed, it's because those demons are depressed. Those demons are depressed because they don't have a chance to get going back into God's kingdom.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you were with a pastor, and he felt like that all emotional illness or despair or distress was spiritually related, and that the source was satanic or demonic. Is that right?
That's correct. That's exactly correct.
And you believe that to be true to this day, right?
I mean, God created us with emotions. We have happiness and sadness and all these things that has to take place. But in order for my emotions to take place, something has to happen in the spiritual realm. Something takes place.
Okay,
like,
but what about this? What about this? What about a person who is born with a birth defect and their brain doesn't develop in a healthy way? And so everything that comes into them, it kind of has a filter. And all the good stuff is kind of filtered out, and they experience everything in the form of anxiety, despair, overwhelmed. And it's part of a birth defect from the very beginning when they were born. And then they find a medication that could actually help with that. Would you tell that person to quit taking that medication?
Well, the problem with medicine is it fixes one thing, but it destroys another, just like when you take a car.
Okay. What about this story that I've told often of Michael Pacewitz, who was a schizophrenic who accepted Christ, and his pastor told him, now that you're a new creature, you don't need that medication that has been treating your schizophrenia. And he quit taking it, and he murdered one of the children in the church there because he was told that Satan was telling him to kill this 2-year-old child. Do you see the damage that can be done when somebody is actually functioning in this world because of medication? And if we over-spiritualize it and we motivate that person to stop taking the thing that helps them function normally, we are held responsible for the consequence of that. And that's a true story that was in the Los Angeles Times. And the pastor was interviewed, and he said, I will never, ever again tell somebody to stop taking medication. So I really believe that some of the things we experience are what you're talking about. But we must not generalize to everybody that every problem has a spiritual source, a demonic cause, or a satanic generated malfunction. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's dangerous to talk about that because a lot of people are already experiencing guilt and shame over taking medication. But that medication helps them function in a way that they can study the Bible and worship God. Without medication, they are overwhelmed either by despair are tremendous fear and anxiety. So we don't want to encourage them to abandon what perhaps God has created and provided for them through the brilliance of the mind of somebody who's studied how do you impact the brain with medication. As Dr. Amen has said, it's not the only thing that we want to do, but for some people it is the only thing that keeps them functioning normally in this world. And anything we do to put shame on that person, we would never put shame on a person who we would say is intellectually challenged, that we used to say would be a retarded person. We would never want to shame them because their brain was made differently than others. We also don't want to shame people who have a predisposition toward severe anxiety or severe depression. Let me send you a copy of Dr. Amen's book, The End of Mental Illness. I think it's going to help you see that some of the things you're talking about are quite antiquated. The research supports not only the truth of the Bible, but the belief that God has provided us with the ability to create solutions to all of our problems. If we trust Him and our motives are right, we can really do some great stuff in this world. Any comment about that, Dr. Amen or Sherry, either one?
Well, John 8:32 talks about know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And I believe there are spiritual forces against us, but there are also biological forces and psychological forces and social forces. And so getting well, you engage all the tools you can. And medicine is clearly not of the devil. Can it be misused? Absolutely. Can it be overused? Absolutely. But in the case you described, it was life-saving. And withholding that medication for spiritual reasons was an abuse of power. And so we have to get this right. Your brain's an organ, just like your heart's an organ. Your brain can have trouble. Get your brain right, and your mind will follow. But then you have to work on your mind, your relationships, and your soul.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, the person that has come closest to being Jesus that I've ever met, I met in Bangalore, India. And at 65, this physician was so concerned about the psychiatric dilemma of the folks, he went back to school, got his degree in psychiatry so he could prescribe the medication that was not available at that time. He was a great, great Christian man.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the Transformation Welcome Gift, which includes a personal-sized Life Recovery Bible, a Life Recovery Journal, and 5 Life Recovery Workbooks. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. We're on with Dr. Daniel Amen today. A wonderful, brand new book, Conquer Worry and Anxiety. And if you don't conquer it, it might conquer you. And we need an all-out effort. Medication, diet, exercise, supplements, everything needs to be looked at, including the spiritual foundation of it. But no one thing ever clears up everything. And that's really important. We're all looking for the one thing that's going to fix everything. It just isn't out there. 1-800-229-3000 if you want to join us on this program. 1-800-229-3000. We'd love to talk with you. We'll be in the studio for another hour. Let's take another call here. Mary Ann from Tampa, Florida, WTLN. Hey, Mary Ann, how are you and how can we help today?
Well, I'm good. I just had a question for Dr. Amen.
All right.
I had a son that was born at 21 weeks, and he had a very massive bleed in the left frontal lobe. He's a miracle because he has functioned so well. Of course, it affected his right side. But the question I have is more than he's done well with that, although I think it bothers him. I think he's insecure about it. I have had him to when he was younger, he's older now, I can't do anything, but when he was younger, he was diagnosed with ADHD, a severe case of ADHD. But what I've noticed as he's aged is we're Christians and he is, but he had an affair while he was married, and he's kind of done this a couple of times, and it's like his conscience is not, you feel like you have a conscience, about things. And he does, but then he kind of blames, of course, that's part of the ADHD, I think, blames her or for what's happened, but he knows it's wrong. But I just wonder, can that affect your conscience, having this happen in the left frontal lobe?
So, Marianne, I'm so glad you called. It's such an important question. When you have damage from birth to your frontal lobes, it can have a negative impact the rest of your life. So think of the front third of your brain, so we call it the prefrontal cortex, as the conscience in your head. I think of it sort of like Jiminy Cricket from the movie Pinocchio. What was Jiminy Cricket? It was Pinocchio's conscience. It helped Pinocchio get his goal to be a real boy. And when Jiminy Cricket got thrown off, Pinocchio got into all sorts of trouble and almost lost his life. Prefrontal cortex is involved in focus, forethought, judgment, impulse control, organization, planning, empathy, learning from the mistakes you make. And when it's damaged, it absolutely looks like you have ADHD, but it's not sort of the inherited kind most people have. It's from trauma. And putting his brain in a healing environment will help it repair as much as possible, which can then help his life. But the affairs, blaming other people, not learning from the mistakes he makes is very common with frontal lobe damage that often can be repaired if you put the brain in a healing environment. In my book, Memory Rescue, the whole book is about how to put the brain in a healing environment. that if it's troubled, and Steve, I think you guys have that, so maybe
we do. We'll send
Memory
it to her.
Rescue
Yeah,
her,
we will.
and it could just help him so much.
You know, here's the thing. If I were you, and you say he's grown and there's not much you can do, but you can say that you talked to the world's foremost psychiatrist in the area of brain health, and that he talked about putting the brain in a healthy environment, and then you could help him connect with one of the Amen clinics. I mean, if I was him, I would have a brain scan. I would have the workup. I would save money if I didn't have it. I'd take out a loan. I'd ride the bus rather than have a car, because it's your brain. And a guy like him needs everything he has going toward health. I'll send you a copy of Dr. Amen's book, and I hope that that'll be a blessing to you. You can pass it on to him. I'll also send you this book, which is available to anybody for a gift of any amount. And it's the book entitled Conquer Worry and Anxiety. We'll help you do that this weekend at Lose It for Life. Chris Williams and I will help you next weekend, the weekend after that, when we do Finding Freedom. It's going to be a great time, both weekends. Both are all day Saturday, very accessible for you. And also, be sure the 31st of July and August 1st, you tune in, sign up for it, promisekeepers.net. And all you have to do is put Promise Keepers in the Google, and it'll take you to it, because this is a worldwide event. I'm one of the speakers, and Sherry and I are on a panel showing the impact of men's behavior. You can join that and watch that, whether you're a man or not. Speaking of a man, and there's no question, Dr. Larry Sonnenberg is here. Larry, help us close out the program with some hope and a challenge to folks.
Steve, thank you. The challenge, let me start with the challenge. The challenge is we have a matching gift that's coming to an end on Friday. So between now and Friday, in order to use all those gifts that were made to challenge, we need $12,883. So if you could make a gift of any size, some of you it might be $5 and $10, some of you it might be $1,000 or $5,000. Anything and everything would be deeply appreciated and will mean that much more coming to New Life to do the work that we do here. And the work that we do here was so evident on Saturday this week when we did our marriage workshop online. Yeah. It was just amazing. And we've heard from people who were skeptical going in, who said, I'm so glad that I went, and thank you. And so think about the two that Steve just talked about coming to. We've got Finding Freedom and Lose It for Life coming up. That would be really good too.
And what you just said, I mean, this matching gift, I was just telling you between the break, it's $370,000. That's the biggest gift that a group of people have offered. So we've got 5 days to bring it in. I told him it's like pulling in a whale. But if we don't get it in 5 days, then we won't get the gift. So if there's any time that you've been able to give, the time is today or the next few days before Friday.
Thank you, Sherry.
Absolutely. Thank you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, any amount, any gift. I'll send you this brand new Conquer Worry and Anxiety. I think it'll be a great, great blessing to you. And don't forget, Lose It for Life. You could sign up for that. And I just hope and pray that, maybe you would consider, after hearing some of the things we've said, what if what you believed wasn't true? What if your brain doesn't have the truth or the facts in it? Would you be willing to take a second look from some very bright people who have a different perspective? This weekend I was challenging the married couples. If you think it's his fault, maybe it's yours. If you think she's the cause of all this, would you consider maybe you're a donor to the problem? Maybe it isn't the way you see it. When we open up and have willingness to take a second look, reflect on the impact of our behavior, miraculous things happen. That humble willingness to look within ourselves to see what is it that is about me that I'm not looking at. Why do I blame and shame? Do that. 1-800-229-3000 to join us on the next program. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need some help.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.